Hi guys, welcome to my channel Lush Gardener. I hope you guys are fine and are safe. So today we are going to be talking about another beautiful variety of the stringed succulent. It's called as the string of watermelon. Now you might have got the idea why it's called as watermelon, because if you take a look at them, they kind of look like small tiny little watermelons. So this is called as the string of watermelon. Now it's an extremely easy to grow, just like any other string of succulents. I know a lot of people might say that they are a little difficult, but yes, if you have experience with them, they are very easy to grow. Now you can see the pot that I have used is around 1 inch. This is a food container. It is a plastic container. I prefer to use plastic containers for these guys because as far as what I've seen, growing them in an earthen pot does not work out really well, but they have worked out really well for me in plastic pots. So I tend to use small plastic containers for them, probably 1 inch. That's about it. And the soil mix also tends to remain the same: loose, porous, well draining and gritty, so that the roots can grow. The water should not stay in the soil for a very long time, otherwise they easily get rotted. So you have to have a well draining soil with a drain hole. Now you can grow them as a hanging planter, you can grow them however you want. Right now it is just starting off to trail, so over the period of time it will start to trail downwards, just like any other strings, like string of pearls or string of bananas or string of dolphins, you name it. It is going to have the same, because they belong to the same genus of Senecio, so they all have this tendency to trail downwards. Now talking about the light requirements, I would say give it a good amount of indirect bright light. Now you can see it slowly starts to turn slightly red in color. This one is green because it's kept in indirect bright light, but over the period of time they tend to turn slightly red in color. Now when you tend to see that they're green in color, do not expose them suddenly to direct sunlight, otherwise they will get burnt, they will start to turn mushy. So ensure that you do a gradual introduction. When it is a very small tiny plant, like mine is a very tiny plant right now, so I'm not exposing it to direct sunlight, but as and when it starts to grow, I will do a gradual introduction to direct sunlight. Now when you're giving a morning direct sunlight, initially give it for at least 2 hours, but not more than that. Early morning sunlight, around 2 hours or so. Do not expose it directly to 5 to 6 hours of morning direct sunlight. That you can do it once it's completely mature, but at the initial stage, do not expose it directly to 5 to 6 hours. It might not work out really well, especially for people who are from a very warm environment. Give it a good amount of indirect bright light. It will do quite well. Now this succulent tends to go dormant during the summers, and winter is their growing period. So if you want to add any fertilizers, you'll have to do it during the winter period and not during the summers. Summers they tend to rest, they tend to go dormant. During summers you might tend to see the red color, but again, as I said, do not expose it to a long hours of sunlight, especially when it is a very new and young plant. If it tends to mature, let's say if this plastic container was full of it, then probably I'll give it around 4 to 5 hours of morning direct sunlight, but nothing more than that. And especially afternoon sunlight is completely a no unless you have a filtration, unless you have a polycarbonate sheet or a green net. That is going to work out really well, but do not expose it to direct afternoon sunlight, otherwise they will get burnt. So as I said, they are green in color right now because they are an indirect bright light. I will not expose them to the direct sunlight right away, but they tend to have this tint of red color. They tend to look absolutely beautiful. You can see the biggest ones already tend to look like watermelons, small little tiny watermelons. So that's how they tend to grow. Now talking about propagation, just like how we tend to propagate a string of pearls or string of bananas, the same way you can just cut off any part of the stem that is visible and then just tuck it into the soil. Ensure that the soil is dry when you're doing it. Now I'm not very sure if this can be propagated with a single watermelon, because pearls tend to propagate with a single pearl, but I'm not very sure about this. But as and when we start to work on this, I will definitely keep you guys updated. So as of now, it's going to be kept in indirect bright light. Watering again when the soil is completely dry, go ahead and water it. Now if you're scared about overwatering, because if the moisture tends to retain in the soil, then the watermelons will start turning mushy, they will become soft, so the soil has to get dried before you water. If you're scared about overwatering them, then just look at those watermelons. You'll see, like over here you can see this entire strand is underwatered. It has not got a good amount of water. That's why you can see they have wrinkled. When they get water, they are going to be plump like this. When they get dehydrated, they are going to kind of get deflated, which means that they require water. So it's very simple, very easy to grow plant. If you are a beginner, you can definitely add it in your collection. Just like ruby necklace, they tend to turn darker in color as and when they're exposed to more sun. That is the same way they also tend to change the color. But again, a gradual introduction. Mealybugs are not much of an issue. You might see some mold growth, which you can clear it off with the Q-tip by just dipping it in either rubbing alcohol or hand sanitizer. You can just wet the Q-tip and then just clear off those mold. At times it tends to get, especially during that period when there is a transition between winter to summer, that is when it tends to get this cotton mold, which can be easily cleared off with the Q-tip. So guys, I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe and keep planting.